Hey, Moms and Master Books. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I hope you were able to participate in our Save 20% off sale. I am blessed today to be here with Eric Hovind, right?
That's it.
Eric Hovind, President of Creation Today. Eric has a special place in our family's hearts in that years ago, the ministry that he's part of had a DVD series that introduced us to young earth creation, dinosaurs in creation, just a lot of those concepts that were kind of mind-blowing when you come out of a public school. And it really began to set us on a journey. And I probably would not be sitting here if it hadn't been for that ministry. And Eric had another part to play. My family attended a mega conference with Answers in Genesis, and he did a youth track, right?
I did. I got to talk to all the youth there.
Yeah.
Well, it's a homeschool. A lot of homeschoolers there. So a lot of homeschooler moms are like, I don't want my kids going to the youth thing. I want them. You know how that goes. Yeah.
We did.
Did I offend somebody?
Yeah.
Right there?
Probably not. I don't know.
I did a youth thing.
This tribe is actually pretty cool. We got a pretty cool tribe. This is the tribe that some of them, you know, the tattoos. We go to homeschool conferences, and so some of them are conservative, and then you have the Master Books tribe.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So we went to this mega conference, and Eric did the youth track. And a mega conference is put on by Answers in Genesis and Ken Ham, and they have a lot of speakers come in. I think they do it once a year.
That's right.
And so we send the kids to the youth track because they really didn't want to listen one more time to the PhD.
Yeah, the
talk.
The scientist talks.
Yeah. And when the kids came back in after the session, my daughter was in tears. And, you know, it was just an emotional thing because somebody had connected with the heart and really made creation relevant. So I'm blessed to have him here today.
That's really cool.
He spent the last 3 years actually putting together an incredible 3D movie and a documentary on creation. And why don't you tell us a little bit about us? Well, first of all, let me ask you, you're married.
I'm married with my beautiful wife, Tanya. We've been married for 19 years, a little over 19 years now.
Wow.
And God's blessed us with 3 amazing children, Stephanie, Angie, and Jordan. Little shout out to you guys and to my wife. They are 16, 14, and 11. So all you homeschool moms and dads out there, I feel ya. We're right in the thick of it, man. And we're blessed to have kids, though, by the grace of God alone, not by anything that Tanya or I have done, that love God and want to serve him with their life. So
awesome.
I feel privileged and blessed. And I know they're still in their teens. We're waiting to see to the 20s what really happens. So praying that God continues to give us the wisdom that we need now to invest in their life. Because here in a few years, it's really going to tell. I heard an old Chinese proverb. It says, you don't tell the quality of a parent from their children. You actually tell the quality of a parent based on their grandchildren. And I thought, oh my goodness. Okay, so God, we need to make sure they get this and that they pass these things on to their children.
Man, you just added like a whole lot of burden.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
Well, and now, have you ever homeschooled?
So you're going to ask me that right here in front of all the homeschool families?
This is
I'm
pure
just
pressure right now.
about to lose respect with all of you. Okay, let me just preface this. When I got married, my wife and I went to Pensacola Christian Academy, where a Becca book curriculum was developed.
Because you're like right near neighbors to the school.
I was neighbors to the school growing up with it, and then I built a house right across the street. And so since K-5, my kids, all the way up until they were in 8th grade when they said, Dad, we don't want you to walk us anymore, I walked them across the street to school. And it was just that quality of school right there. We didn't end up homeschooling. So to all of you who are offended by me, they do go to Christian education though. Okay. We're not public school. We don't do that.
No worries though. I
can feel the judgment coming on here. I know what's going on, man. Come on.
So Carity says, oh, a youth thing. I don't know if you should trust him. He's a good guy. And I believe that the Lord has an anointing on his life and he has an important message. Can you share a little bit about this?
Master Books has just blessed us so much, and they are carrying this right now, Genesis, Paradis Lost. We spent literally, it's actually full-time, 7 years working on this project. The director and the producer, his name is Ralph Streen, has a gift from God to create things on the computer. So he does animation, does 3D animation. He came to me and said, Eric, what would it look like if we let people watch Genesis happen? So instead of just reading, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, what if you could actually watch God creating the heavens and the earth? Somebody needs to do this. The technology is at the place somebody's going to do it. We better do it so that we can do it right. Mm-hmm. And that's where the idea of Genesis, Paradise Lost came from. We went up to the Creation Museum at Answers in Genesis and interviewed 14 different people to turn it into a documentary where you're watching it happen and then you're hearing about it, and then you're watching more of it and then you're hearing about it. It's just
really good. Yeah.
You saw it, so I don't have to sell this. It really is it's the most powerful creation to the cross film ever produced, because it takes the journey from creation, through the importance of creation, all the way to the cross of Christ, which ultimately is what the world needs today. The world needs the gospel, mm-hmm. and they're tripping over the beginning. And I tell people all the time, we're dealing with a world that doesn't know where they came from. They don't know where they're going, so they have no idea how to live in the here and now. And that's our job, is to communicate to them the truth.
So the creation part of the movie is 3D, but then the documentary,
it's all 3D.
It's all 3D.
If you have a 3D TV now, so the Blu-ray, actually, what we did is, because so many people, they're going to be like, I don't have the 3D technology. We put everything in one case.
Okay.
So it has the 3D disc, Blu-ray disc, the regular 2D Blu-ray disc. If you have just a Blu-ray player without the 3D, it has the DVD in here. So you actually get 3 copies of the movie. And if you know somebody with another version that you don't have, give it away as a gift and act like you love them, even though really you got it for yourself.
So for the typical family, like the big question is, what's in it for me? What would you say, what would the typical family gain from buying this and putting it into their DVD player?
It's kind of multifaceted. Number one, your kids are going to watch creation happen. And this is what Discovery Channel and Nova do. They show the dinosaur that lived 20 or 30 or 65 million years ago. They show them dying out. And then they bring in a scientist to talk about it. And they're like, oh, it must be true. Well, it's doing that, but it's actually teaching the truth. So they're actually going to get the truth. Second thing it does is, man, it just strengthens your faith. There are over 36 different topics between carbon dating and starlight and Pangea and dinosaurs and soft tissue and dragons, and 36 different topics talked about in an hour and 40-minute video. And you're just kind of get blown away with, wow, there's a lot here. So it's going to educate you. It's going to equip you. It's going to encourage you. I mean, you get to the end of this and you're like, yeah, we're right. I mean, I know we're right, but like, we're really, really right, Right. So it's multifaceted, what it is.
Alexandra says, our family too, forever grateful. Alexandra, was Eric part of a conference that you were in? Is that what you're referring to? Love to know a little bit more about that. I think, the creation side, a lot of the people that are here know master books, they know Answers in Genesis, but we do have a few that don't. Creation being relevant, the message. Mm-hmm. When I pastored, the church that I pastored, we held to some doctrines that were hinged on a few verses that you had to believe in order to be credentialed, right?
Okay.
And they would hold real strong to that, but sometimes they wouldn't hold as strong to the beginning. And I would always be like, you've stolen the power from God. Up here, it's so hard to believe the power of God here unless you have that. And I think that was the biggest, the Age of the Earth TVD that Eric does is phenomenal. And I will put links to the resources that you can see his ministry, which is Creation Today.
Yeah, creationtoday.org.
creationtoday.org. Yeah. And I would highly encourage anybody that has a question about Age of the Earth and science and just some of that. Eric does a great job of making that relevant to the average person, right? So we have a lot of scientists and PhDs that can speak at that level, but sometimes for people simple like me, having somebody who can break it down and make it easier to understand really helps. And then giving me the buzzwords that I can use when I'm fighting it out with people. And now we do that a lot with master books. It's kind of our thing, but there's a lot of relevance in families knowing how to defend the gospel.
It's the biggest thing. If your kids, first of all, we need to be sharing the gospel. And that's where my kids have a passion for this, because when we go out and we do evangelism, they're asked questions that afterwards they're like, hey, Dad, what do we say about this? How do we answer this? What's going on here? And that encourages them, and it encourages them to go, I want to know more myself. It's not just, that's something that I had to learn growing up. Your kids heard my God's Glory talk, and that's a talk of growing up in a Christian home and not being a Christian. I knew a lot about God. I just didn't know God.
Right.
And I think in a lot of Christian homes today, the kids kind of have their parents' belief, and they have never really made it their own. And I know that's why you guys produce the curriculum you guys produce, because
Absolutely.
you want these kids to understand that it needs to be their own faith. This can't just be mom and dad's. This has to be your own faith.
Absolutely.
And that's huge. I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah. We need more Erics as well in the homeschool community.
Hey. I'm just too worried you guys would kick me out. You guys would be like,
I don't think so.
Oh, man.
So, well, I'm going to put information to the DVD. I would definitely encourage you to look at the DVD. If your family hasn't seen it, it's a great tool and a resource.
Yeah.
And I think it's how much?
It's probably, you guys are probably selling it for like $20, $25 for all three. So you get all three discs in here, all three copies of the movie for like $25, I think. Well, if you got it yesterday, you got it on a really good sale, 20% off. But
yeah, well, we still sell it at 20% off on the website.
Oh, beautiful!
So yeah, we still get a discount. So I'll put a link to that in this video, and I'm also going to put a link to Eric's ministry, and encourage you to follow his ministry and support what he's doing. And I also ask that you would just keep him and his family and his ministry in prayer anytime you're on the front lines and the enemy can attack, right? And we have an unbelievable group here that is able to pray and understands families and ministry, because so many of you are in ministry. So we all appreciate your prayers. We appreciate the honor to serve. And I'm happy to be able to introduce you to Eric and his ministry.
Well, thank you, Randy. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you.
Pleasure to meet you guys. I've been here, I don't know if I said, I've been here at New Leaf for the day, just hanging out. And I got to tell you, this is an amazing place. I mean, you talk about a heart for saying, we want you to ensure that your kids grow up and are educated and equipped correctly. You guys are part of an awesome community. Thank you for taking advantage of what they're doing, what they're providing, and you guys taking advantage of it. That's amazing. It's no short of amazing.
Thank you.
What you guys have done. So
thank you.
Praise God, man. Keep going.
Awesome. Sue says we purchased several of these to give away for Christmas.
Awesome.
And so, yeah.
Well, and hope they enjoy those, Sue.
Yeah. And also, this is at the if you're at the Creation Museum, they play the 3D movie. They used to have a display called Men in White. Yep. And now that theater has been completely converted into a 3D theater.
4D.
A 4D theater.
4D, yeah. Okay. So not only is it 3D on the screen, but the seats are rumbling and the wind is blowing. And it's so while creation is happening on the screen, you know, when the lightning flashes, the strobe lights are going off. It's quite the experience.
Wow. So that movie that plays now in that theater, Eric, are you responsible for that, or do you?
God gets all the glory for helping us come away with an actually finished product.
Good. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. God bless your day. And tomorrow we will see you at Teaching Tips, where we're going to talk about keeping in mind how the little things are making an impact for eternity. God bless you all. We'll talk to you later.